Oh, hey, hello. I'm the jock. I hope I don't die. I'm tough. A little bit of acting for you. Thematic for the game. What's up, gang? Welcome to Room and Board. My name is Chris George, and today we are taking a look at Final Girl Series 2. It's a new year and a new me.
New year, new me.
And so I decided to make a change. I really thought people would stop spending money this year. I really thought that the communism would catch on. But capitalism is still alive and well, and so because of that, I've decided to change the bar for this series. Usually when a campaign reaches $1 million US, you'll see this 5 reasons you shouldn't back video. But I wanted to up the threshold a little bit to compensate for inflation, so the new bar is 1,000,001 penny. And Final Girl has smashed this new goal officially. The first game in 2022 to reach over $1 million on Kickstarter or on any crowdfunding platform. A goal that I thought was insurmountable. I thought it was incalculable, but it did it. And so that's why today we are looking at the 5 reasons you shouldn't back Final Girl Series 2, or just Final Girl in general, really. Because you can buy all of the original content in this same Kickstarter. And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. This is a series where I try to put your excitement to the test. Dun dun dun! There were 40 campaigns last year that broke over $1 million on Kickstarter or GameFound or some sort of crowdfunding platform. Actually, over 40. There are a ton of games that will invoke this sense of excitement and this sense of, oh, I need this and I need it now. And I'm sure many of them you do need, of course. But for some of them, you may just feel like you need them. So my goal with this series is to pose a few questions, dive a little bit deeper into the game and what excites me about it, and try to make sure that your excitement is as high when the game arrives at your door, however many months it takes, as you are right now when you hit that pledge button. And sign away your soul to a demon to make sure you have all the funds necessary to purchase the highest tier. Let's first talk about what's exciting about Final Girl. This is a game, or really it's a bunch of games because they're all interchangeable expansions. So this is really a campaign about 10 different games, but it's all for one player, one Final Girl. That's you. The first campaign funded back in May 2020, and right on schedule, about a month after fulfilling their first campaign, they are back with a second series, 5 new expansions for everyone to get excited about. This time with more monsters, more girls, and even more finality. This is the Final Girl, until we get the even finaler Final Girl Series 3. And this has already raised double the first campaign, and that makes sense since you're getting double the content. You can get everything from the second campaign and everything from the first campaign. Just go for it, do it, come on. Wait, no, that's a different series. But this is a game that I hadn't heard a lot about before the campaign launched. Tim over on my Discord described it as Hostage Negotiator, but better. And also, subsequently, after describing it, started looking for lawn mowing jobs in the winter to pay for his serious addiction. Hey, Tim Riel, I said your name on the TV. And what's annoying about these sorts of successful campaigns is that I hadn't heard that much about it beforehand, and then I looked into it in a lot more detail, and I immediately want it and need it right now. So thanks a lot, Final Girl. What have you done to me? And that descriptor of Hostage Negotiator but better is a great descriptor because this really is Hostage Negotiator 2.0 if you've heard of that previous game. However, all of the changes that I've seen between the two, because I had to look into both of them so that I could pretend that I already knew this information and impress all of you, these changes are nice ones. Hostage Negotiator was decently successful back in its time, but this is clearly the better version of that system. And it's kind of nice to get a game that's reiterated from something else, as long as those changes do make it better and not make it more convoluted and just for the sake of changing things to sell a different copy to the same fans. But the main difference here, as far as I can see, is the board. Moving around a board feels so much more satisfying than what Hostage Negotiator can offer because it gives you that extra piece to navigate. It gives you that extra element to juggle. And I really like the idea of saving X number of hostages, X number of victims, and getting them to safety, getting them right beside the exit, and then going to them and saying, yes, you idiot victim standing right beside the door to safety, feel free to step on in there and get out of the way of this murderer running around here. I am the Final Girl. I give you my permission to do so. And when you save enough of them, you unlock your own special power for the rest of the game. That is cool. These sort of stages that the game takes you through, this narrative element that you progress through, I think that's really neat. And I joke about the idiot victims, but the theme here is the surprising draw for me. I mean, hey, it was also a draw for the movie Final Girls, which was not good whatsoever, and even the incomparable Malin Ackerman couldn't save it. I mean, I'll see any movie or show that features anyone from the incredible web series Burning Love, but I reserve the right to also stop halfway through when it's horrible. For those of you who are equally as confused as I was, the term Final Girl refers to a trope in the slasher horror genre, where everyone else is going to get murdered, but it is the often virginal and pure final girl that will be the one to kill the mass murderer, only after everyone else dies, because they are, as my ex-friend Josh would say, naughty, naughty bad boys and girls. So because they're so sinful, they kind of deserve to be murdered by this raging maniac. But this allows the game to be set in this really fun genre. People like this genre. That's why somehow, inexplicably, Shudder hasn't gone bankrupt yet. Although, surely it's only a matter of time. But to pit yourself, a cool, badass final girl, against these different mass murderers, you're the only one who can save everyone or bring this murderer to justice. It's fun. It's a fun theme. I love how you're going to go searching for weapons. I love the varied locations can set the scene for your adventure. And they even lean into that theme even more with an optional add-on of a book of stories that you can read through when you were inevitably too naughty to be the final girl and kill the arguably even naughtier villain and end up deader than dead. Well, at least you get to read about it and read about your gruesome, grisly, just awful death. There's a sense of camp and fun that is mixed into this game, which makes it really appealing. And the time frame is nice too. It's 20 to 60 minutes, around 40 minutes, I would say, is an average time, or quicker when you know how to play. And that for me is a really nice length for a solo game. I envision being able to commit to playing that, or for it not feeling too overwhelming to pull it off the shelf, get in a quick game, and then go to sleep, right? Something fun to do to unwind before whatever, before whatever you're gonna do. Making sure that the villains from the board game infest your dreams as well. I mean, hey, if you want to get hyped about this game, watch Mike DeLisio's review on the Dice Tower. He gets you excited. But what I really like from that review is he also mentions these solo benchmarks that he has, and the fact that there is a win condition versus a beat your high score condition. And this is something that I hadn't really considered, but really struck a chord with me. That's the type of solo game that I think I'd be interested in. I'm interested in a win-loss condition. I'm not interested in beating an arbitrary number of points. I'm interested in going for it or dying in a blaze of glory. I want to win triumphantly or lose regular-umphantly. I don't want to score. Give me liberty or give me death. So there is a lot to be excited about. There is a lot that I'm sure you're excited about. Or maybe not. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing of it, in which case, there is still a lot to be excited about. But this isn't meant to get you excited about the game. Shame on me for even mentioning it. As my ex-friend Josh would say, I am a naughty, naughty bad boy. Oh, I hate it. This video is to talk you out of spending that $400 Canadian on everything Final Girl. Maybe it won't talk you out of backing at a lower pledge level. Maybe it's not supposed to. But maybe it'll prove as a litmus test of whether or not you should get the full thing or how much you should get. So here are my 5 reasons you shouldn't back Final Girl. And the first one, number 5, is because you have really only seen it in Facebook groups. And this reason is incredibly relevant to me. It's great timing by Van Ryder Games. It really is. They are incredibly smart for launching this second campaign right after they've fulfilled the first campaign. It's been getting into the hands of excited backers. It's being posted about everywhere. As you probably know, I'm part of various board game Facebook groups. And this might have been the #1 game that I saw people posting about and talking about over the past month. The #1 consistent thing, I should say. I saw so many people taking pictures of their boxes that they received, being like, yeah, I got my copy of Final Girl, and people being interested and conversations being organically generated around this game. And that's great when people are excited and getting their games and wanting to share that excitement. That shows me that the product is definitely reaching the audience that it is intended to, or that will appreciate it the most. But realistically, you shouldn't drop $300 on something that you only know about because some random internet strangers were talking about it. And this might be a only me point, in which case, welcome to my inner monologue. Please don't stay too long or else the nightmarish thoughts will drive you insane. Things can get very dark and weird at a moment's notice with the very slightest provocation. But this has been everywhere, or at least in my circles. And the fact that it has been everywhere and people are unboxing it and playing it and exploring those 1 or 2 or 5 feature films, that's what each individual expansion is called, and exploring these variations over the past month, do you really need to jump right back into it right away? Has it provided enough to you already to say, oh yes, I want everything. I need everything. And maybe it has. And hey, that's cool. I got Everdell for Christmas, and I played a few games of it, and I went, oh yeah, I remember why I like this game. And immediately went online to check and see if there were still late pledges opened for the collector's edition with all the expansions. But just because I know that I'll probably pick up a lot of that stuff down the line doesn't mean that I necessarily have to jump in right now. I don't need to pick up these expansions when I haven't fully explored the base game. I know this for me personally. I'm excited to wear it out and then add the content. I want to fully explore the content that I already own. So for all of that excitement being shared amongst those different groups, and there's a lot of excitement going around, again, it's fantastic. This is your check to make sure you're not getting swept up in that excitement without fully realizing what it is and if you'll actually enjoy what it's offering you. And I'm kind of bleeding into my number 4, which is along the same lines. Reason number 4 is that you don't need every single expansion. And I've kind of blended these two reasons together, but I am incredibly impressed by how replayable just one copy seems. There was a certain bias in my mind, there really was, when I looked at the campaign page and I see all these 5 different boxes and these 5 different locations and settings, and seeing everyone take pictures of their full collection. I really assumed that you would have to have all 5 expansions to make this fully playable. I mistakenly assumed that the scenarios and the gameplay level was going to be a lot less involved than what it actually is. But I love that in each box you get different boss power cards. There's 3 top halves and 3 different dark power bottom halves, as only the scariest of horror villains can possess or be possessed by. It doesn't matter. You also have different scenario setups, different possible last gasp tokens, although that's not really a variability thing. That just adds a nice little unknown touch to the gameplay. Different unknown items, different unknown events, and I think the game works and does look exciting to me because of all these unknown variables, which drastically help increase the replayability, at least in my mind. And so knowing this, knowing after taking a look into the rulebook and seeing the different combinations that can occur, I realized you really don't have to get everything. That means you don't have to go back and get all the Season 1 content just because everybody else has it. Especially if you think the Season 2 content looks better. You don't even have to get all the Season 2 content. You can just get that one game that you think looks interesting. You are buying a complete game. You're getting a complete game. And I think the thinking and the mindset should be framed in that way. And of course it's not from the campaign page. Of course it's framed as, look at all the 5 options you can get. But I think each one really does feel like its own complete experience. And if you're really worried that the replayability won't be there, then I think get 2. You don't need 5. You can have 4 characters, 2 bosses, 2 locations, mix and match however you want. There's going to be all this variability in it. 2 seems more than enough to keep any normal gamer satisfied, or any person who won't be playing this over and over and over repeatedly. And I know some of you might be thinking, oh, just 4 characters? I could never be interested in just that. I'd get bored too quickly. But I'd argue that if the reason is that you're buying all of these expansions, all 10 or 5 or whatever, because you're just expecting to play it once or twice and move on to the next one and not be able to return, and you aren't interested in the replayability aspect of it, why are you buying it? Why aren't you just borrowing a copy, finding a copy in a Board Game Cafe's library? Why do you need to own a copy if you're not going to play it more than once or twice and be happy with the variability that it currently presents? Anyway, reason number 3 is that rolling dice by yourself makes you want to cheat. And I don't know if this is just me, but I'm usually a huge rules stickler when I'm playing a game with others, especially a co-op game. I like that if we aren't focused enough and make the wrong order of operations, we have to live with our choices. I like playing an Aeon's End. If you forget to cast your spells before you start doing something else, you don't get to cast them. That's the order. I like an Attack on Titan. If you've moved somewhere and then think, oh, I should have bought that item where I was, and you don't have the movement to go back, you can't go back. You have to live with your choices and shouldn't have spent so much time playing hockey on your phone, Brandon. You dropped your guard. You were not focused on the task at hand. I find that adds a level of difficulty, and I really enjoy stuff like that, especially with these co-op or survival style games, which I think Final Girl falls into. But having a core mechanic that is based primarily in luck. I know there's a lot of dice mitigation that can happen throughout the game, but your actions, whether they succeed or not, is solely based on how well you roll the dice, and sometimes you can just get really unlucky. And if that happens, and if I'm playing by myself and it continues to happen, it's also a little bit easy to just pretend that it didn't. Pretend that you rolled that success. And I know I'm not alone in this thought. Alex Radcliffe over at Board Game Co. mentioned this in his review as a throwaway line near the end, wanting to cheat in some cases because of that cascading failure aspect of the game, that it was more fun to just continue the story along rather than die and reset and have to try again. Although, Alex, don't worry, I promise you, this was also one of my 5 reasons before I watched your review. You know my stance on people who steal other people's ideas without giving them a shout out. So here's your shout out, because we had the same idea, the same tendency, as my ex-friend Josh would say, to be naughty, naughty bad boys. But if you also have that tendency inside of you, I don't know if this would be the game for you. There's a lot of dice rolling, and I like rolling dice. I do, but I like it better when I'm rolling it against someone else, battling people with dice, and then reveling in my incredible skill at throwing these random bits of plastic. And when I'm alone, as someone who's constantly lying to myself so I can just make it through the day, it makes it slightly less fun that I know that tendency is there, or that I will be tempted to follow through on that tendency. Anyway, reason number 2 you shouldn't back Final Girl is that the stretch goals and the add-ons to an extent are pretty superfluous. So kind of along the same lines of our number 4, not needing to get everything now, not needing to get every expansion, the savings for everything that you get don't necessarily equal, to me, the shipping costs that I would have to pay. And this is usually my calculation for my crowdfunding countdown videos, the series that I do on every Monday. But if you don't own the core box and you're jumping in now and want to get, let's say, all of the season 2 stuff, the new stuff, not only do they try and make you feel like you need to get the $159 pledge for the full series, because at their $90 pledge it says this does not include the core box, and that's the next pledge up, which is fine. The $90 pledge that says it doesn't include the core box, that's great. That's great for returning players. But if you're just jumping in, you may want the core box, and you may think, okay, I need to get that next pledge, which is the $159, in which they throw in all the stuff that you really don't need. The minis, the vehicle minis, the game mat, a storage box where you can put in your already packaged boxes. So you just get to open more boxes before you set up your boxes. The real cost for all the gameplay that you need, if you're just getting season 2 and the core box, is $110, because you add on the core box for $20 to that $90 pledge. And this is really only a $10 discount on MSRP. And their gameplay pledge level that they've just recently added is $209, which saves you $11, so 1 more than the previous. You better make sure you get it all so you save that $1. So with it being not that much of a discount, you should be really excited about everything you're getting to warrant that extra shipping cost rather than just finding it somewhere else later on. And for me, those add-ons are especially superfluous. If you gave me a choice between any of the add-ons and an extra expansion, every time I would pick the extra expansion. And for the stretch goals that I've seen, and keep in mind, we're at $1 million here. They've unlocked a great deal of stretch goals. They also really don't do anything for me to warrant the extra shipping costs that I would have to get. I'd rather just reach out to my friendly local game store and inquire and see if they were planning on getting any of the stuff that I wanted in stock. And if they weren't, well, now they know somebody's interested, and they just might. Because what do you get in the stretch goals? You get some deluxeified tokens, one little thing. You get all the rule books stapled together into one rule book. Okay, it's printed nicely into one rule book. They don't just take them all and staple them together, although that would be fantastic. You get a few extra cards, one for each of the games. For me, it doesn't really greatly impact the gameplay, although there is this funny dice that you can use under specific circumstances that has 5 success sides and one side where if you roll it, the game ends immediately. This is a very funny thing, but this is also something that I absolutely would cheat with if I lost the game. I'd say, well, let's see what happened if I didn't lose the game, and you continue on in that manner. So for me, that sort of cost and the extra additions that Kickstarter provides, because it does provide this opportunity to get these sort of deluxified components and these luxury components, but for me, these are underwhelming even on the deluxified side of things. So that's my number 2. Calculate that cost, see how much these stretch goals do excite you, and then reach out to a local game store and see if you can get it there for cheaper, because chances are it's gonna be close. And finally, the number 1 reason why you shouldn't back Final Girl, Series 1 or 2, or all together, especially all together, if you don't play solo games. And I know this might seem like a no-brainer, but this is different, slightly different than me saying you don't like solo games. I assume that if you don't like solo games, you haven't made it this far into the video, or you aren't actually seriously considering getting the game, right? I assume you have to at least enjoy the concept of solo games to be considering backing this, and I'm with you. I love the concept. This concept in itself, the theme of the game, everything, it really has me tempted to jump into that solo gaming pool. I've been looking for that reason to start solo gaming, and this might be it. And so I'm tempted, but if I'm really honest with myself, it's not that I don't like solo games, it's that I just don't play them. Even when I have the opportunity, I don't play them. And I know I would enjoy playing with myself. People have told me it's a wonderful experience. And I believe them. If you saw the looks on their faces, you'd understand. But I just don't play solo. And that's not because I don't love board games. It's just that I also enjoy doing other things. And for me, board games consume enough of my time as it is that I also like to give some time allotment to other enjoyable hobbies, such as obsessively playing Hearthstone for 12 hours a day. Everything in moderation. So I really know, for myself at least, that while this idea is intriguing to me, even if I bought it on the idea to try it out, and for some reason decided to order it now instead of getting it later and paying it at retail, which the lower pledge prices don't even give you a discount, you're just paying the shipping for not really much of a reason, I really don't know if I would get it off the shelf. I might gravitate towards playing a game online with friends, or playing a video game, or all these other things that I know I gravitate to when I'm alone and by myself and don't have anybody to play a game with, and still have that desire to play a game. I just know myself, and I haven't yet unlocked that key inside myself that will actively pick solo gaming over another activity consistently enough to get my money's worth. And I'm not sure that spending $400 would be enough of a draw. I mean, it certainly should. At that kind of price point, I should be playing it every day until I die. I should wake up, play Final Girl, eat, and sleep at the same time to save time so that I can play more Final Girl and get my money's worth. But I still fear that I wouldn't, and the guilt of not playing this thing that I spent so much money on would eventually consume me and make me implode upon myself like a dying star. So if you are like me and you don't play solo games, not that you don't like them, you just don't play them, will this really be the one that sets you off on the path to do so? It might be. And honestly, jumping in at the lower price point, $40 US, for a game that seems actually pretty replayable, it seems like a decent choice. But going further than that, I don't know, I'm struggling with even getting that small box. I feel the pull. The pull of the theme is getting me into it. The pull of the gameplay is getting me into it. But I just don't think I would do it. And that's okay. If that's you too, that's okay. So ask yourself the question, regardless of the price point that you are spending on it, how often will you get this to the table? Will you get your money's worth from that amount of time? that you do end up playing and mixing and matching. They boast on the campaign page all these different combinations. You'll have endless combinations. So will you play it that many times? If you're worried about replayability and they're saying there are all these permutations and combinations, how many times are you going to play this game? 1,000? Then get all 10 and get all those combinations. Are you going to play it 4 times? Then just get 2. No, don't get any in that case. Or get it. Who the hell am I? Listen to yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else on the internet, but listen to yourself and make sure that you'll be excited when it arrives. Anyway, that's it for me. Those are my 5 reasons you shouldn't back Final Girl. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. I would love for my mind to be changed and take that plunge. I know some of you are very convincing, and shame on you, because you make it very hard for me to resist. But let people know why you're backing Final Girl, why you're excited about it. If you have the main game and you have all 5, let us know what is the best one of Season 1. If you could only get one in Season 1, which one is it and why? And if you're thinking about getting them all in Season 2 and you've looked over them, but you could only get one, which one would that be and why? I'm curious to see, because for a lot of people too, the large thing is out of budget and is excessive if you're not going to play it that much. So what are the best ones to help those who are interested and who are considering? Or let me know what are your own reasons for not backing as well, so that our comment section can be filled with lovely discourse that can help anybody who is contemplating a decision and is trying to make up their mind as well. Or don't. Just leave a like, subscribe, do whatever. It all helps the channel. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thanks for hanging out. I really enjoyed my time with you. I did. I really did. I know I'm recording this beforehand and then you're seeing a recording of it, but I swear I did. I really appreciate you all. My name is Chris George, and I don't know a catchphrase, but remember, if you are right beside the exit and there is a murderer running around, and you're not going to go around the town and save the other people. No, you're just going to stand there and wait for the murderer to come hack you down with a chainsaw. Please, there is an exit door right there. You can escape. Believe in yourself. This one's for the nameless idiot victims. Maybe you too will be the final girl one of these days. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.